Good morning. This is the Health and Wellness series. We're running a very special entrepreneurship series over the month of July, and you're welcome. We're looking at different industries and different sectors. We're looking at the fact that COVID has changed the landscape of business almost completely in many respects. And we're trying to dig into which industries still make sense. And we're hopefully looking into industries that are brand new, totally, absolutely new. They never existed before, but COVID has thrown them up into the limelight. So we'd like you to stay with us. We have the pleasure of one really exciting guest today. And I think we're going to learn a whole lot about the agribusiness. He didn't start with agribusiness though, but we'll find out where he started from as this episode unfolds. So once again, you're welcome to the Wellness series. This is a special set of series that we're focusing on entrepreneurship. I have the pleasure of having Mr. Yemi Ogundeyin here with me in our studios here in Lagos, in Nigeria. Yemi, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
It's really good to see you.
Fine.
Yemi hasn't changed. I mean, he's been like this for as long as I have known him.
I'm taking after you.
He just has not changed. I mean, 20 years ago, he looked exactly like he looks right now. It's amazing. I think maybe we should talk to his wife to find out what she's been giving him to eat.
She's doing a good job. She's doing a good job, keeping me fit and healthy.
Yeah, we can see that. That's good. So we're going to delve into it.
Okay.
As always for me, we realize that success doesn't come in a day, and it has grown, it has evolved. Oftentimes, it's made mistakes to get to where it is, and so we're going to drill back a bit.
Okay.
And I want to start off by asking, where did you grow up?
I was born in Ibutemeta here, just on Abba Macaulay here, 189 Abba Macaulay.
That's not far from
here. Yeah. My mom was a teacher. My father is a civil servant. And we lived at Macaulay until I was 7. And 7, we moved to our own property in Bariga.
Okay.
So, Bariga was an experience.
I was going to say, so did you play football?
Yes, I used to play football. In fact, I played football a lot. I used to play number 2, right fullback.
Amazing.
You couldn't dribble me. I was short. I wasn't tall.
Right.
So I used to play right fullback. But an event happened in my life sometime in 1995. I had a heart problem. So I couldn't continue playing football.
Wow.
So I had to just
step back
a bit and face my academics. And that really helped me because I would have failed big time. So that health problem really curtailed my exercise in terms of playing football. So I focused more on academics and my hobby, thinking.
Right. Okay, that's a nice one. So I wonder how many of us have a hobby called thinking. That's a really interesting one. So how did that come about? What happened?
Yeah, I'm as a young boy growing up, I had a lot of dreams. Wanted to be this, wanted to be that, and so I could sit down on my own, just imagining myself being an engineer, imagining myself being a superhero, imagining myself being something out of this world. So I developed that habit of just thinking. And I loved it. I just sit down quietly, I'm carried away, I'm lost in thoughts. And till today, I enjoy thinking.
Okay, now that's very interesting. and I'm sure that in the influences that have formed you, thinking probably takes a pivotal role in who you have become right now.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I once spoke with someone, a consultant, who said that the Jews on the Sabbath day are forced to sit down and think. And I never looked at it from that perspective before. But what she says, and what she said, is that because the Sabbath limits you in terms of many of the other things that you would normally do,
yes,
the Jews are literally forced to sit down and think. Because you're not allowed to do any
They
work.
could be sleeping too.
They could be, but the habit has helped them, to sit down and think.
Yeah.
And you know, she linked that to one of the reasons why they're so prosperous. And it doesn't matter where they are in the world. So I'm really curious about how thinking has helped you in many dimensions. So as we go on, I'd like you to, link it to,
Okay.
I'm sure, some of the decisions, if not many of the decisions that you have taken in your life. So what were your secondary school days and experiences like?
Okay. I started in St. Jude's Anglican Primary School. I went to Grace Children's School at my nursery school. We left there. My mother's a teacher, so anyways, any school she went to, I had to change school. I went to Barefoot, Lagos. From Barefoot, I came to St. Jude's Anglican. She was a teacher in St. Jude's Anglican, so we stayed there. When we moved to Bariga, I went to Bishop Crowder Memorial. So that was where I completed my secondary school, my primary school. And I finished as the best student there. So I felt I was very
Was that because you are your mother's
No.
child?
When I was at St. Jude's Anglican, I was like number 7. So when I got to Bariga, I was like a standing shadow. So I finished as the best student there. So I went to secondary school with that mindset. Okay, look, I'm good, I'm brilliant. Even though my father used to tell me, you are just a one-high man in line of the blind. So went to secondary school, and I performed woefully in my first year. And so I had to, I didn't bother so much, but I just felt, look, I'm okay, I'm brilliant. Just because something happened, that's why I didn't pass. But I went on, primary, secondary school was interesting, junior secondary school, normally the most brilliant people in the school went to sciences. And so I got to sciences, but I never cured all the things I needed to know. So when I got to SS2, my principal, Mrs. J.T. Abbas, I don't know if she's still alive. Her husband was a dean of science in Unilag. So we're the first set of senior secondary in Lagos State. And she wanted to get the best. The best. And she didn't mind the number of students she would present for WAEC. And lo, I was scared. I didn't know maths very well. I was only good in English because of my background in Grace. I was good in biology, chemistry, I was woeful. So that exam, I failed maths.
Oh.
I was the best student in geography, I was the best in biology, I was the best in English, but I failed maths. So I went to SS3 on that platform. So they called our parents in and they said, look, if your child didn't pick up, you will have to go back and repeat. It won't sit for WAEC.
Oh.
So I had to buckle up to see how I improved my mathematics. And glory to God, I sat down, spent time there, reviewed and did everything. And before you know it, I had improved the maths by second term.
Oh, good.
So there was a question that my school went for competition in mathematics, and the champion was not around, so I had to step in to support the second champion, and I did very well.
Fantastic.
And that boosted my confidence.
So, you have quite a lot of experiences.
Yes, a lot of experiences, yeah.
So it looks like you had teachers that were very influential in your life.
Oh, so much of them, yeah.
So, tell me about that. I mean, that sounds like, I'd like to start with your mother. Obviously, she was a key influence in your life and your choices.
My mother was very influential in bringing me to where I am today in terms of faith, and I'm very grateful to her. She's late. You know, she literally forced us from our Anglican background coming into Foursquare. That was in the early 80s. So we came to Foursquare in the early 80s, and she would force us to come to church every time. My father was very supportive. He never went to church. So he would come drop us in church and drive back home.
Wow.
So my mother had influence in terms of my faith. My father had influence in terms of my studiousness and seriousness here.
No, you need to tell me a bit more about that. So, I give me practical examples. I like practical examples.
Okay.
So, because I remember some of our own kids and the fact that we needed to have a cane available to help them to do their homework.
Okay.
But how was it growing up in terms of those two influences, those two pivotal people, and how they influenced you? And help me kind of link it to, how those influences have made you who you are today.
Okay, my father, I remember when I was growing up, he would force me to read papers in his room. He would always buy Punch, Sketch, Tribune. So I would sit down in his room and read. It was boring. He would ask me to pronounce. I won't pronounce it very well because for him, he had to sit for I don't know I've forgotten the particular exam, like 11 times.
Wow.
Before he passed. So it was quite good in English, quite good in economics, and so he would force me to read papers. I would listen to Voice of Nigeria, VOA, African Service, BBC, Southwest. You be tuning the radio so I can get it. So that is the influence in terms of why I like news. I'm addicted to news today because of that influence of my father. But when it came to the area of faith, my mother influenced me a great deal. She was a prayerful woman. So those two combinations, my parents were not best of friends, but they find a way to live together happily.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those two influences have very great impact on my life.
I can imagine and I can understand that. Mothers, fathers, and their influence are often extremely powerful. I know most of us have the opportunity of having parents who have influenced us a great deal. These days, where English and even maths are sometimes a big problem, it does help to have parents who are on your back. So, after secondary school, what happened?
Okay, let me just briefly. While I did my WAEC, I told you mathematics was a problem for going to SS3. So by second term, I had some up courage. I was good in mathematics. I was good. So I had a problem about my WAEC. I knew I was going to pass. But chemistry, I knew I was going to fail. And I did fail. Because the teacher was, I didn't understand it. I couldn't imagine when you mix two chemicals together and they react and something happens. I didn't see it. So I couldn't visualize it in my head that this thing was real. So I never had interest in it. So I narrowed myself to, I would do engineering. I won't bother myself about chemistry. So I failed chemistry. Unfortunately for me, when I wrote JAMB, my first JAMB, I got 199.
Oh, that's nice.
That was below 200. That was 400 during my time.
Just 1 mark.
1 mark below 400. So my sister too didn't do very well in terms of JAMB. So my father was much concerned. I was his first male child. He married at 38.
That was late.
He married at 38, yes. And he had his first child at 46. So you could imagine he was already retiring when I was about going to the higher institution. So he called me into his room. After I failed the second one, and had the second JAMB, I got 196.
Oh, wow.
So I did poly JAMB. I went to do a diploma in Ogun State University. So he called me into his room with my mother. Said, look, you're my first son. And I won't make a mistake with you. Choose today. Mechanic, carpentry, tailoring, and another trade, about 4 trades. Now, the moment you fail the Polytechnic JAMB that is left to come out, that was the last result. When you fail it, I'm not going to pay for your school fees again. I had 3 A's in WAECO, only 1 P in, say, look, I won't waste my time with you. You have to go and learn a trade. I've seen that you're not academically inclined.
With 3 A's.
Yes. So I would never forget my mother. That memory, that picture is in my head till tomorrow. She was crying and said, look, I reject in Jesus' name. My son will not be a carpenter. My son will not be a mechanic. My son will not be this. So I left his room. I wasn't crying. My face was stone hard. I went back and I went to pray. And I said, God, I pray you help me pass this Polytechnic. I done the exam. So I was praying. And lo and behold, I had one of the best results in the country for that year.
Wow, in the country.
Yes. I was about 5 marks less than the best result. Because I was so much scared when I was doing the exam, I chose Science Laboratory Technology in Yabatech.
Wow.
So one of my big aunties saw my results, you can do computer science now. So I was expecting that I would change my course to computer science, but it didn't work out. So I did science tech for my OND at Yabatech.
Okay.
And my plan was to go to IFE to go and do electrical engineering. So I was struggling and doing everything possible to have an upper credit.
Right.
But I had 3.47 GPA at the end of my OND. So I couldn't go to university to do.
So do you think necessarily that was the way God wanted you to, as it were, become who you are today? Was that a closed door so that you could see the open door?
I wouldn't know, but the way I see life is that every challenge that comes your way, it's a learning point for you to move, for you to live tomorrow. I would have loved it to go to IFE because I'll tell you, while working in the bank, I had my career in the banking industry, not having a BSc was a big challenge for me. I couldn't move, even though I was good on the job. There were some banks I couldn't apply to. And I tell people that work with me today, if you come to work with me and you have an OND, I would never allow you to go for an HND. Because it's a limiter. It limits you. It restricts you. God has helped me because of sheer success and His grace upon my life that has made me to succeed, at least to an extent. Yeah. If not for that, resilience has kept me. So if I was going to rely on HND, I would not be where I am today. And so if you come to work with me and you have an OND, I will always encourage you to go for a BS, even if it's a part-time.
Right.
Because in this part of the world, degrees matters. Even though in the US and other places, skills are becoming the more important thing than degrees. But in this part of the world, what you carry, matters a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll get into that a bit later.
Okay.
Because there is a new normal that is shifting to more skill-based entrepreneurs and a workforce. But I'm interested. Let's the progression move forward. So,
okay.
After your HND, you
after my OND was a turning point for me in what I do today. Because we grew up, I won't say abject poverty, but we had our own house. My parents were retired. At the time, I was in school. So it was difficult for us to live.
Right.
You couldn't start to break the walls of the house and say you want to eat as food. So we relied on retirements to live. So I was determined that this cycle of poverty, or the kind of life, I wouldn't live it as a person. So when I was doing my OND, I did my OND at Nigerian German Chemicals, my IT. That 1 year compulsory IT at Nigerian German Chemicals in Ota. I was aggressive looking for business to do. I saw companies, industries all around. And I said, look, I could sell their products in Lagos. So I started from my boss. She used to bring in ladies' clothing from the US and from parts of Europe. So I would take from her, madam, give me some of these clothing that I can sell. So I'll collect the bags, collect the wrap skirts, collect all the kind of things, come to Lagos and come and sell to people I know. So I made quite a lot of money.
I can imagine.
Doing that. Aside my meager
allowance.
Yes, allowance. And I was living with one of my cousins, with the husband, is a pastor in Redeem. Currently, he's one of the assistant general overseers in Redeem. She too had a confectionery shop, big business. So in the morning, I would wake up early to roll meat pie, to do everything, cut it, put it in the oven, do everything. I'll go to work. When I get to work, yes. They were living in Ota.
Okay.
So I go to work in Ota. If I have free period, I run to Lagos, quickly come to sell, come back that same day, and still come to close. And I go. When I get home, I'll still have to help them fetch water, do some other things and everything. So it built And it was a tiring life, I must confess. I didn't like it. I told my father that, look, I want to stop this thing, that I was like an houseboy there and rest of them. My father told me a proverb, said, in Yoruba, "Yofatolojo, a man sinning." That is, if you are in a slavery that has a time limit,
Right.
you will have to struggle and live that slavery through, because you know it has a time limit.
Right. There's hope at the
Yes,
end of the...
but that person I lived with, even though I saw it at that time as slavery, influenced my business life. That's Pastor Peter Mackinnon. I used to go with him to go for he was preaching, he was very prolific man of God. So I would go with him, carry his Bible. So when he preaches to Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship members, I would go there with him because he was a member. So the seed of business was being sown, birthed in that place, coupled with what I was doing. So it re-emphasized, increased my interest, how would I say, in business. And I felt, look, this is the way to go. Being a salary earner would not help me, because I saw my bosses in the office and how they lived. And I saw what came into my pocket from the business I was doing. So this really helped me a great deal to determine who I am today in business. So I'm business, what would I call it? I'm so interested in anything business because of those experiences in Ota.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we have some people who already have questions. So if you do have questions, the number to call is 0817 578 5454. You can also WhatsApp us on that number, and we will be glad to take your calls and your comments. Yemi's life is extremely interesting, if you ask me.
Yeah, extremely. All of my life, we know.
Extremely. So, it looks like you got your baptism of fire, if I will call it that.
Yes.
From a pretty young age, and you look like, for all of us, the model of streams of income, multiple streams of income, really should almost be the norm.
Yes. In fact, in Nigeria today, you would not survive on a single business. You will have to have multiple businesses to survive, because the economy is so challenged that there are a lot of ups and downs. So if you have just one business, you might not really survive on one business. So it's appropriate you have multiple, but don't have too many too. Don't have too many.
Okay, so that's the trick.
Yeah.
Okay, so we seem to have a couple of questions and comments coming
questions
in.
on my life or on agri?
No, it has to be. It has to be on the fact that, you know, your life is a model that can be used. So when you do have an opportunity to work hard, work hard. When you have an opportunity to trade, trade. When you have an opportunity to work and trade at the same time and still help at home, that's a brilliant model to have. So I think if we could all pick up from that model, that would be fantastic. So if you do want to call in and if you have comments, numbers once again are 0817 578 5454. You can WhatsApp, you can call, you can SMS your contributions, whatever it is you want us to perhaps discuss. So very quickly, transit from you've begun to learn the rudiments of multiple businesses.
Yes.
And I'll say there are multiple businesses because really, the meat pie confectionery business was one business. The retail trade marketing was really another set of skills in another sector. Yeah. And then, of course, you worked in some industry where they obviously produce something else.
They produce drugs.
And that cycle, another industry entirely. Yeah. So, in essence, you were exposed to three quite different
and those businesses really helped me when I went back for my HND.
Cool.
Because I lived on some of those businesses when I went for my HND. Some of the monies I've saved helped me going back to school. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was in school, if you had any function to do, I could do meat pies for you, do donuts for you, and was paid for it.
Oh,
so those things helped me while I went back. And then I had to teach too while I was HND. those who are doing GC, the rest of them, I would go lecture, leave school, quickly go and lecture. But I went with a very holy anger, and I didn't go to Ife for
your
yes. So I told myself, look, I was going to smash the records, and God helped me.
Brilliant.
Yes, I did HND Physics Electronics, and I finished at graduate students for that particular set.
Okay, so you have lots of awards. I mean, I wish I had pictures.
I don't picture.
Apparently, we didn't get to the pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you finished your HND, what happened?
I finished HND, and because I told you that I saw us live in poverty, and I couldn't just afford to stay back home one day. So I had one of my friends that linked me up with a company called Kes Computers, and he didn't need a graduate. He just needed somebody to, like an errand boy.
Right.
And I, even though with the best graduate students, qualification and everything, I had served and the rest of them, I went in there as an IT student just to learn.
Right.
So Kes Computers, I started to work there. I would carry back for a school startup, but I was learning. I didn't mind. So I did that for 3 months, learned how to fix computers, From there I met some very good guys that started opening me up to Martins Udoge in particular. I went to fix their stabilizer in their house, the house, and said, Spoka, you have a change? Okay. I could help you with one of the banks. I said, banks? Okay. So he gave me notes to various banks. So that opened my up. Okay, look, that could be a job opening in a bank. Because I was looking at Telnet that time. Telnet was, that was because of Physics Electronics. So that opened my eyes up to banks since I had an upper credit for my HND. So with that, I started applying to various banks, writing tests, and luckily I got employed in UTB, Universal Trust Bank.
Okay.
Now Union Bank now. Yeah, and that's why I spent some years there, went to other banks. So all those experiences too opened my eyes up to businesses.
Right.
Yeah, because I was determined that I wasn't going to do civil service job. I wasn't going to be an employee forever, but I didn't know what actually to do. But I just knew that, look, I was going to do business. And I started to do business as a banker, little businesses that I could find my hands to do.
This Yemi looks so multi-skilled that I'm multi-industry exposed by this time already.
Yes, I had. So, and I talked to my customers too. If I manage your account at that time, I wasn't managing it because I wanted deposit. I will manage it I will immerse myself in that business to understand the business you were doing. And that opened my eyes up. Some of them got very close to me. They were very happy that, so I could fund their transactions, push it off for credit, okay, because I understood their business.
They were doing.
So, yeah.
Well, I like to just drill down a little bit into that because
Yes.
I think it's important as entrepreneurs to understand the business and the business models that work in specific industries. So, as a banker, you took keen interest in the businesses of your customers.
Every business I managed.
Because it was important for you to understand how the model works,
Yes.
what the risks were, obviously what the potential benefits were,
Exactly.
and how to scope that. Now, in terms of business, and I'm asking you, as it were, for advice here, for the entrepreneur, the would-be entrepreneur, what mindset do you need to bring into either a new business or an existing business that will enable you to position your own business, obviously to succeed?
Whatever knowledge you have in any field, bring it to ground zero. You enter a new business, assume you don't know anything. Go there, your cup empty, and go and learn. In agribusiness that I do today, I went with my cup empty. I took about 1.5 years to learn what we're doing today. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning. So you must go into any business with the mindset to learn. Don't assume anything. Try and get as much knowledge as you can. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Don't make the mistakes other persons have made. Whenever I train people on agric, I tell them that learn from our own mistakes and see that you improve better.
So I think that's a really important point to take home. Many would-be business entrepreneurs sometimes get a fantastic wave of an idea, and they just jump in. But what I hear you say is that it doesn't matter what business you're in. There's someone who's done it before, usually.
Yeah.
There are lessons to learn. There are mistakes that they have made that you obviously don't need to make if you humble yourself enough
Exactly.
to find out how these businesses were run and how they have come to be run profitably. And I think for that's extremely useful advice. And it's extremely useful advice at step one for starting any business, any entrepreneurship endeavor.
Exactly.
And I think that's really key. So I'd like us to dive into Agric. How did that happen?
Yeah, we were running a company. We were running a finance service. When I left my job, I didn't plan to leave the bank industry that early.
Right.
But because I spent about 10, 11 years in the banking industry. But it got to a time, this craze for deposit there, and you have to go for alcohol meeting, you are telling lies. You're expecting some money that is not coming. And here I was a Christian, I was a leader in church. And you go for meetings and you are telling lies. I said, look, you won't go to heaven, no. These lies you are doing, you will not go to heaven. You won't go to heaven. So, for me, what happened was that it got to a point wherein I felt, look, I'm not going to be an MD of a bank. I'm not going to get to an ED. This lies, this pressure in the industry was not going to earn me anything. So when there was a consolidation in the banking industry, there was a gap. All the banks abandoned retail. That was in 2004, 2005, 2006. Abandoned retail business. And they were all after big ticket transactions. So the retail businesses
Kind of just
didn't have anybody to support them. So there were customers that I managed. I would say, we need 500,000 and everything. And here was I, a banker. I had some savings. So I'll take some risk, borrow them some money on my own. Not because I really wanted to make a profit, but because I felt for them that the bank was not willing to listen to their transactions again. So I would give them some funds. They would pay me a little bit of interest. So my friend and my partner, Ahmed, we were both working in the same office. I said, look, this is a business we can leverage on. So we formed a company called Meetness Investment in 2008. And by the side, we were just doing that little businesses that the bank was not interested in doing. So by 2010, we were already doing like 10 million worth of businesses in terms of lending to people, most of them. And we felt, and some friends were coming to us, you are doing this business, let's give you money. Instead of giving the bank money, let's give you money and give us a good return. Right. We were scared at first. We took the first one, second one. So we didn't go to market anybody. We didn't go to beg people for money. So, okay, look, since you are doing this business and they are paying back, let's give you some money. So at that time, we had about 15 million of people's funds in our hand, plus our own funds. So we said, look, okay, this is the time to cut out. We couldn't pay our salaries. By that time, I was earning about 600,000 per month. I couldn't pay my salary, but we reckoned that, okay, if we had some savings, I had about 1 million naira savings, we could pay ourselves 75,000 naira every month, or 50,000 thereabout. So myself and my friend, we rented an office somewhere in, before that time, I had another business I was doing. I had a bookshop that I was running.
Yeah.
I started that bookshop, myself and my wife. So we had a small office behind. So that's the staff we had employed for the lending business were using that office in that place. So we felt we were matured enough to go out and go out. So we rented an office in the Ikorodu Road, and we started Meetness Investment properly in 2010. And we got the money lender's license, and we're lending money. And that business brought us good profit.
Wow.
Good profit.
Wow.
That business grew to us doing 20, 30 million, 40 million lending on a monthly basis.
Safe, secure.
Not without its risk,
Right.
because it was an unstructured lending. We were lending to bankers mainly, people working in the oil sector, people working in telecoms. we lend against the salary. It was payday loan. Before Red Money and the rest of them came out, we were already doing that.
Right.
And we just collect your bank statements. Because I had learned the skill of credit analysis, so I will review your bank statements, see that you have capacity to pay, see that you are borrowing from another place. And so we're doing it, and we're charging high. We're charging like at 8%, thereabout, flat per month. And because the market was there, the banks are not doing that. So everybody was coming to, even the bankers themselves were coming to us. So we grew our business. We had an office in Lagos. We grew to Abeokuta, went to Ibadan.
Wow.
So we had 3 offices, but everything controlled from Lagos. I can't give that skill of giving money to any other person. So I made sure that I did that. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that background has helped.
Yes.
To say that the agribusiness part of your portfolio, because obviously what I can see is that you have a portfolio of experiences and skills that have led into agribusiness. So if I'm looking at agribusiness from your experience, and I'd like you to share a bit of your experiences.
Okay.
What would be the approach? How should I approach it?
Nigeria had abandoned agribusiness for a long time. So as a resurgence now, people are getting interested in agribusiness. I want to do agric and the rest of them. The knowledge gap is wide. And so for you to go into agribusiness, you need to bridge that knowledge gap. The first thing you need to do is to get to understand the agribusiness, the particular value chain you want to play in.
Right.
If you don't understand it, you are bound to fail. There's nothing about it. It's a knowledge business. Much more than any other business. It's a knowledge-based business. You will need to sit down, look at that business, where do I want to play? And agribusiness is wide. The value chain is very, very wide. So you need to sit down, am I playing in production, primary production? Am I playing in distribution? Am I playing in storage? What particular aspects do I want to? Am I into grains? Am I into livestock? So you need to determine where do you want to play. And there are opportunities everywhere.
Okay.
And you cannot play everywhere. Because it's capital intensive in some areas, it's less risky in some areas, it's more risky in some areas. So I'll say the temperament of the person too also comes to play. If your risk appetite is very low, you don't do primary production because it's very risky.
Right.
If you don't have good funding, don't do primary production.
Long term.
Yes, because it takes time for you to get back the funds. The capital outlay is large. You need to invest into infrastructure. You need to invest into a lot of things. So if you're a trader kind of person, so you either play at the end of the value chain in sales, and it's still agribusiness.
It's still agribusiness.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that a lot more, because I'm sure we have listeners and viewers who need to understand that agric actually is a knowledge-based business.
Exactly.
First and foremost.
Yes, a knowledge-based business.
If you're going to succeed in the agribusiness, you need to understand the various...
Understand the value chain completely, not the particular one you want to deal with. You need to understand the whole value chain. If you are going to deal in grains,
right,
understand the whole value chain, right from planting, understand. So, and you determine, okay, look, I understand the whole value chain. Okay, I want to play as an aggregator. This is what I want to do. So, because if you don't understand everything, when challenges come within that sector, you won't understand what is going on. So it's important you understand the whole value chain and then narrow it down to, and now know more about your particular area you want to play in.
Now, in talking before this session, I realized that your current agriculture endeavor actually has multiple verticals. Can you tell us why you chose this combination of options? Of course, first of all, you need to tell us what the options are.
Okay.
And then I think it will help us to drill down into...
Okay. When we just like I said, I went for a training animal production and poultry management. And we went around about 20 farms in Nigeria, all in Southwest, to see what they were doing. We asked questions. We took those questions to those training, for the training. Those questions were answered. And so our focus was, okay, look, we are coming to this business. We're not going to be dealing in what? We're dealing in poultry, lay eggs, egg production. And this was going to be our focus. We won't do feed. We won't do any other thing. We won't do have a veterinary doctor. We won't do it. We will outsource every other thing. So we came into that business. So, okay, look, we just have our best, we produce, and we'll go to sell. Of course, selling was one skill that we had garnered over the years. And so for us, we knew the model we were going to use for selling. And the issue of credit came in because of our background in credit, both in the bank and also doing meat needs. So we understood credit very well. So we went to that one. But down the line, we found out that we couldn't succeed very well in production of eggs if we didn't handle our feed. Because the feed constitutes 70% of the cost of production. So if your feed was not okay, you won't get good quality. And the game is a game of numbers and efficiency. If you are supposed to have 75% efficiency average and you're having 50% efficiency, you're going to be making losses.
Right.
Because the birds will eat, they will have to eat what they are 125 grams or 115 grams every day.
In order to produce.
Yes, but if that feed is not rich enough, they will even eat more than 115 grams.
Right. And still won't produce.
And they will not still produce very good egg for you. So it's important. So we have to take hold of
the feed production.
Feed production. I want to invest in feed production. I have to do a backward education on feed production. Now there is a call to invest in hatchery because we found out that if you don't have control over the prices of the birds you are getting,
again you have.
But nevertheless, there are still areas we still outsource.
Right.
Yeah. Like our veterinary services are sourced completely. I don't know anything about veterinary medicine. I don't have a vet doctor on the farm, even though we have a large number of beds. Everything is outsourced to a particular problem. Other things are outsourced too that we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so poultry management is clearly one of the things you do. And okay, so tell me about the supply side, or maybe I should say for you, the retail side.
The retail, along the line too, one of the things we also do, apart from the eggs we produce, we also do chicken, broiler chicken.
Okay.
Because that one came about also to, when you go into business, you might have that's why you need to understand the whole value chain.
Yeah.
You might have a narrow area that you intend to focus on. But as you go in, opportunities open up because the space is so wide and there are great opportunities there. Not many people are playing in the agri business as it were today, even though we have a lot of people playing, but we're still small, we're still not feeding ourselves. So there's still a point. So we came into broiler business because we had an idle pen, a brooding facility that we didn't. A brooding facility is a place you rear small chicks up to the time they will be able to lay eggs. So we had that facility idle, and we felt we could use it to raise broilers. Broilers are the ones raised for meat, the one they bring in from Cotonou. They are broilers. So within 6 weeks, you are done with them. So we had to go into that. Our plan was to go into that and sell to a processor.
Right.
But the processor we sold to the processor, let me not mention their name. We sold the them for the first time. They bought about 4,000 birds for us. We made good money. The next time, 2,000, we called and called and called them before they could come to buy it. The last 2,000, they didn't come to pick it, and the birds were growing. After 8 weeks, mortality starts setting in,
right,
and they're becoming too weighty. So what do? We picked on all our customers that were lending money to, because we were doing lending money side by side at the beginning.
Okay.
So we picked on all of them and said, look, we are selling chicken, oh. So within 2 weeks, we were able to sell, within 1 month, we were able to sell 2,000 birds. So we had to go and learn how to defeather the birds. So, and that is how we went into broiler processing.
Okay.
Which is one of the core businesses we do today.
Yes, processing.
Yes, processing.
Okay, so what I hear you say is that there are multiple silos.
Oh.
So broilers as a business. Broiler processing, another business. Auxiliary, but business.
You see, the broiler business, I'll just give you real quickly, run the value chain for you. There is people that have the grandparent stocks.
Okay.
There are people that lay their big bets.
Right.
Yeah. There's another value chain, the parent stock. The parent stock, that's another value chain. After the parent stock, you now have the commercial breeders, which we are.
Okay.
That's those who have hatcheries too. They just hatch eggs too. Then processors are there too. The distributors are there too. So within the broiler sector, there are about 4 value chains or 5 thereabout. So it depends on where do you want to play in. We play in about 3
Of those
value chain. Yeah. We have commercial beds, we rear, we process, and we also distribute. So you have when you process, you freeze, then you distribute.
Okay, so what that suggests to me, and I'm putting myself in the position of a potential entrepreneur who wants to look at agribusiness, is that even in the broiler business, I could limit myself to just distribution, for instance.
Of course.
Talk to people like you who produce and process, and basically just take the retail side, the distribution side, and because I have access to customers.
Exactly.
And in this day of Instagram businesses, I could actually just use my digital platforms and reach thousands of people.
Yes, you could. And it's not very difficult to do that. It doesn't mean you have to take products from Mayor Farms only. You can take from all multiple farms, as long as you know that the integrity of the product is there.
Okay, so we have an incoming call. And so we're going to see if we can take that call right now.
Fantastic. I must commend his storytelling. I've inspired. I just want him to, you should say more on the concept of integrated farming. I mentioned my name is Olubenga Awe. I'm a banker.
Integrated farming. Okay, so that's an interesting question. Okay.
I want your guest to speak more on concept of integrated farming, which focus on poultry. He's been able to break it down, the value chain, but most people want to go into poultry trying to do everything at once. So I will want him to explain more, so for the audience to know that at times it's not right to do everything at once. Rather, you should focus on the value chain you are most suited to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Binga, okay.
Yeah, Binga, we really appreciate that question. And I think it underscores what we've begun to say. So I think it's pretty interesting.
See, for integrated farming, the truth is that I prefer you to focus on particular core areas, because the moment you have so much things, you thin yourself out. But that is in theory, that is well, and that's also in practical. But sometimes you would need to harness the benefits of the whole of what you are doing. One of the ways to harness the benefits, take for instance, for Mayor Farms, what we do broilers. We do broilers. And when we do the broilers, you will find out that when you rear the birds and they are matured and we process, we get a lot of things from the processing. There is the feathers, there is also the chicken itself, there is the kidney, there is everything, and there is the intestine, what we call the offal.
Okay.
Now, for us, at the time, we were prepared to just leave the offal for people just go and throw it away, because we're not getting people to use the offal.
Okay.
But when we spoke to NIMO, NIMO told us that's Nigeria Institute of Oceanography and Marine Research, that the offal is rich in methionine and lysine, which are the building blocks of protein. So when they said you can use it for fish feed, so what we had to do was to take that offal, mix it with maize and the rest of them, and try to give it to start a fish farm.
Right. I noticed
not because we were trying to start in fish,
right?
But we're paying money to throw away the offals. So we had to do fish. It's not our core business, but because so that we don't make a loss on that end. So if you feed the fish for the first 2 months and you buy pelletized floating feed for them in the first 2 months, by the 3rd month and the 4th month, we can give them our own feed.
feed.
So it reduces the cost of production of fish.
Right.
And that is why people doing fish today are not making money, because all of us who are doing processing of broilers,
Right.
we have
You've
gone
gone
into
away,
fish
yo.
production. And our own cost is lower
And there's
than theirs. But it's not because we were hungry that we wanted to do fish, but because we were trying to save costs. So integrated farming is good when it saves you cost,
Yeah,
not when it thins you out.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Mayor now is moving towards an integrated farm, but you didn't
No,
start.
we didn't start that way.
Right.
But necessity demanded us to try and see how we could save
Become more efficient.
more efficient. Exactly. Efficiency has driven those things we are doing, not basically because we're just crazy about, okay, let's do this one, let's do that one.
So I think in line with what our caller said just now, it's important for many of us who are looking at the agribusiness to look at it from the perspective of different value. The value chain is obviously quite large, but that there are different silos that we need to begin with, and we can expand into a more integrated solution.
Exactly.
Depending on the efficiencies that we find.
Integration should be
are
driven by
appropriate.
efficiency, not the hunger. I would like the hunger to just build an empire
Right.
of businesses. Yeah.
Okay, because obviously you have evolved from
From just egg production.
yeah, egg, which was the focus.
Yes,
the
because
initial
egg production was our major focus.
Right.
We saw an idle pen. We started broiler rearing, not because we want to play. Broilers were not picked up. We started processing.
focus. Right.
In our processing, we found out that we were spending money throwing offal and littering the whole place with smell.
Right.
Because those things, within 2-3 hours,
They
they
start
start
smelling.
smelling. So now we're doing fish.
Now you're doing fish. So what's the value chain for that? And how does that work?
Fish, for fish, you could, it's not as long as broilers it were.
Okay.
Because the fish, when you rear the fish, what we do to fish, we don't smoke it right now. We
Okay.
just sell to people. We will still make money.
Live
If we-
fish?
Yeah, live fish, yes.
Okay.
But as we go further, we might think of smoking as a volume increase, because the moment we increase our processing capacity,
Right.
we are trying to do right now, we would need to have more fish tanks and expand the fish business. So you might not, your off-takers might not be able to take everything all at once.
Right.
So we want to preserve. We don't want to just rear, because we also have a strategy. Our strategy is not to rear big fishes and get 1 kg, because that's what we call a food conversion ratio.
Okay.
Very important in livestock management. And it's also in human beings.
Right.
When you were younger, when you eat, you could see the growth of you. You just growing quickly.
Right.
But now, when you eat, we don't even see people like us. You
don't
just
see
eat, other
anything.
things shows. So our food conversion ratio has decreased.
Right.
When we were smaller, it was very efficient. And so for fishes too, beyond 500 grams,
Right.
the food conversion ratio decreases.
Decreases.
So you give more food, it gives you little flesh. So when you look at it in terms of profitability, it's not very profitable rearing big fishes.
Right.
The same thing with broilers too.
Okay.
Beyond 6 weeks, the food conversion ratio decreases.
Decreases.
So when it comes to, because we've talked about agribusiness, but the aim is to make profit.
Right.
So you must be able to see, okay, look, my cost of feed is high initially, but what am I looking at? My food conversion ratio. I won't mice feed for animals, because at the end of the day, you are shooting yourself in the foot. The food conversion ratio is what matters in livestock management.
Right.
Can you use little feed to achieve bigger weight
Right.
without still being ethical,
Right.
not putting any growth hormones?
Okay.
Yeah, very important.
Okay, so what you've said, I think, is extremely important for every agri-entrepreneur to be.
Yeah.
And that buttresses what you said earlier, too. It's a knowledge business.
It's
Your
knowledge
understanding of the value chain and the individual silos in each of
Yeah.
those value chains is critical. Because if I were to take what you've said just now, that growth conversion ratio,
Food conversion
is-
ratio.
food
Food
conversion
conversion
ratio is critical to determining what business I get into. So my understanding, for instance, if I were to do fish, is that
Yeah.
between 0 to 500 grams, yeah?
Yes.
That's really it.
That's
Focus
the-
on that. Once you get there, zip, sell.
Because as you are doing the bigger fishes,
Right.
yes, to get big, but when
You're
you
gonna
do,
spend
when
a
you
lot
do
more.
a lot more, and then you won't get a lot more in weight.
So it makes sense if you understand that.
Exactly.
And so that boils down to knowledge and possibly to thinking, which is where you started off at the
We are
beginning.
back to thinking.
Yes, because obviously superior thinking will lead to superior profits.
Yeah.
And that's something I think every entrepreneur needs to know. Beyond liking fish or liking chicken or thinking that because everybody eats food, so food business is obviously a good business. Yeah, that's true. There's a depth of thinking that clearly must go into the choice of agribusiness that we choose and the many multiple options that are available.
Yeah.
And I think it requires serious thinking. If there's a takeaway from what you've said is that it's clearly a knowledge business.
It's a knowledge business.
Agric, as is today, particularly in Nigeria, is one where you must have a depth of knowledge. And I like the fact that the training you took you all around several farms in Nigeria.
Yeah,
so you were exposed.
it was deliberate because we didn't have so much funds, and we didn't want to make mistakes. So we wanted to learn from other people's mistakes. I'll just give you one. When we went around all the farms that we went around, I'll just give you one. We found out that disposal of waste, they would dig a big pit, and it will be smelling.
Oh.
And they were using scrapers to scrape their what do you call it? Their droppings, the best droppings under the pens. So when we were going to buy our own land, we had to go and buy on a hill, such that we were okay. There's a call coming in, I think.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so we have to go and buy on a hill so that we don't use power to move the litter. So we save costs in terms of power.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. My name is Ayodele Ogunleye. I have been following your session this morning and it's been very impactful. I noticed from the background when you started your story before you ventured into agriculture, I observed that you had a capital base. You already have the kind of savings before you ventured into agriculture. Moreover, you also have other streams of income that were coming in. My concern this morning is for fresh graduates. The Nigerian government has been encouraging a lot of fresh graduates to go into agriculture. And considering the capital needed for such a kind of commercial agriculture that you are into, I want to ask you, would you advise the fresh graduates to go into agriculture? That's one. Number two, how sustainable? Because I have friends who had little savings and they went fully into agriculture with their savings, but after a while, they couldn't even recoup their savings from the investment, the agricultural investments they made. So how do you balance this without, maybe you don't have a savings and you want to go into agriculture without other sources of income? Knowing the fact that agriculture is not it's not like a buying and selling business where you buy something and you get it back immediately. Even some of these retailers, like you're talking about the supply chain, the retailers, those who sell, and sometimes there are people who even buy on credit, and you have to still restock. And so how do you balance this thing? I'm talking about, my concern is for fresh graduates now. I don't mean big people who have actually, had a lot of money or other streams of income, but for a fresh graduate who is just leaving university, trying to go directly into agriculture, a sustainable one. What is your advice for such?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Those are very insightful questions, and I think they're questions playing on the minds of many of the people who might be watching us this morning. So, Yemi?
Okay. I train people on agriculture, and whenever I go, people accuse me that I discourage people from going to agriculture. No. And I said it earlier. If you are doing primary production, it's not a safe place for any fresh graduate to go into. I always tell people that want to go into agriculture, go and sell what you want to produce first. So there are sides of the value chain, and that is why I insisted that it's a knowledge-based business. You must understand the whole value chain, as it were, and see the opportunities that exist. I would not advise a fresh graduate to go into planting hectares Because number one, when you clear land, the cost of land clearing cannot be recouped over the next 10 years. If you really clear land for agri purposes, the cost of land clearing would take you 10 years to recoup. So I would never ask an agri fellow to go and do that. So that's number one. Number two, if you want to, as a fresh graduate, I would advise you go to the retail end of the business,
Right.
where you could trade in those things that have been finally produced and market.
By someone else.
You can build capital from that. When you build capital, you also build knowledge from that too.
Right.
So you can now begin to decide, do I want to put my, when you want to go into a river that you did not cross before, you don't go with your 2
Feet.
legs.
You
You get it
use
now?
one.
You touch it even with the tip of your
First toe.
toe. Again, now you touch it very well. Okay, this is the temperature. Put one leg to feel
be
the
sure.
way exactly. So you don't go in deep, deep and deep. Yes, government seems to be supporting agriculture, but that support is not enough. Beyond even cash, knowledge is one of the biggest challenges, and that's why you see our fathers who have been doing farming all these years. Are they rich? Where in Nigeria, I planted maize in the early business of our business. I tried to plant maize to see whether we could just save ourselves cost of maize. I got about 2 tons on 1 hectare after much toil. I didn't know how to preserve it. I lost everything. All the 10 tons that I planted on 5 hectares, I lost everything. That 2 tons, there in the US or in Brazil, they will get as much as 15 tons on 1 hectare.
That same
Space. It called balance efficiency. So the truth is that fresh graduates, there are a lot of things. You can even play in the side of knowledge and be an extension worker and train farmers and tell them what to do.
Right.
They will pay you little amounts of money if they know that you are sharing knowledge with them that works. So it does not mean that you have to go into primary agriculture and do all the cultivation and all the rearing, because it's, as I said, it's capital intensive. So the only way I feel government can help is to provide the infrastructure, put in place, like let's say, clear the land, provide tractors, and apportion lands for these guys to manage.
Right.
So provide the seedlings, give them everything, do all those things, and they will just manage. And they can now build capital through that.
From that.
So when that set is completed and they can now go and own their farms elsewhere, another set will come to use those facilities. And then you can build streams of entrepreneurs in agribusiness. But leaving us and banning us to the Philistines like that is not working.
Well, I think if I were to add to that question and your answer, is that for young graduates who typically are not experienced, I mean, if they're young graduates, they are fresh and they're green. So there's a lot for them to learn. And it makes sense for them to start at the retail end of the market, because you really don't even have a business until you have a client who's willing to buy whatever it is that you have available. So an understanding of that sector is critical.
Yeah.
And because the main sector, the primary sectors, are capital intensive, but that's not all. They are time intensive.
Time intensive,
You really only get to efficiency for many of those primary
I've not made money now.
things.
I've not made any money in agriculture.
2-3 years later, if you're alive.
Yes,
2-3 years later.
yes.
So for fresh graduates, it actually makes sense to first of all learn the business. Knowledge is key.
It's very key.
It's your first asset, based on what Yemi has said. And so if you are a fresh graduate and you're considering agribusiness and you're looking at the kind of support that government is giving, and some CBN facilities are also available, you really need to understand the value chain, but start from, we would say the retail side, because that will then help you to make some money.
No bank will commit funds into your hands if you have not experience. It's going to be a lot of risk. One young man came to intern with us. I was surprised. He schooled abroad and came to spend 2 months with us. He wanted to learn what we're doing. Today he's in Port Harcourt, he's doing the same thing we are doing.
Right.
So that's another way you can go to farms and intern.
Which is important.
Which is important.
Because
And
that
see-
knowledge will grow you.
Exactly. That's another faster way of learning.
We have another question.
So, yes.
They seem to be flying in fast and thick.
Yes. The first one is just following on your last question, that what government needs to do, what would you advise them to do in terms of if they really mean to ensure that the business of agriculture is taken as serious business in Nigeria? That's one. The second one is, what is the risk in breeding broilers within the same facility with layers? What is the risk in breeding broilers within the same facilities with layers? That's other questions are coming, actually. Maybe you want to.
We'll take those two. They're very
Broad
on opposite
question.
sides.
On the question.
So there's government on one side,
Okay.
then there's...
Let me talk about the broiler. Let me take the second question first.
Okay.
You know, there are different kinds of birds. You have the broilers, you have the layers. And there's really no technical risk except diseases that are not common to both birds. And so the risk lies actually with the layers. They're going to keep those layers for a long period of time. They're going to be around with you for 1.5 years.
Right.
So it's not always safe to carry diseases of broilers to layers, because broilers would pick from the floor and everything. Your layers, assuming they are in the cage.
Right.
So you won't have, so those diseases are transferable, as it were. But if you are very experienced, you can do it. We do it sometimes, but it's not every time we do it. So what we do is that we do employ biosecurity. We ensure that those working in laying pen have no business in the broiler pen.
Okay.
So with that, you reduce the risk of diseases. As a matter of fact, if you are managing livestock, you must keep biosecurity. People can't just walk everywhere. So people working in feed mill should have no business here. Like for us, the moment you go into processing plants where they process broilers, you close from there. You close from there. You can't go into the laying pen. The moment you go into the broiler pen, like if I'm going to inspect the farm now, I start from the younger birds first. I go to the brooding pen because they are more at risk. So when I inspect at the brooding pen, I go into the laying pen. I finally end in the broiler pen. Then when I finish from there, I can now go and check fish. You know. So sometimes I want to do feed mill, I won't do feed mill that day. If I want to do feed mill, I will start with feed mill. So those things are very important so that you don't carry out diseases and put in the feed.
Right.
So you craft for the feed mill, down to the smaller beds, down to the laying pen, and down to the broiler pen, to the fish, and then I will now go to processing plants where I can go from home that day. So those things, you ought to understand it. Government, the second question.
Yeah.
Government has no business in agriculture than to provide infrastructure. When we got into Wodiegba, where we were, that village, we bought about 10 acres of land initially. We spent 3 days clearing the road, walking on the road. The tractor spent 5 days. So 3 days were spent on the road, doing the road, while 2 days were spent on our own farm. And I can tell you how many times we have walked on the road, severally. So what government needs to do is to provide infrastructure and enable environment for private sector to come in. Government cannot, by the structure of government, cannot manage agriculture. And so when I see states investing in agriculture, they've done this, those things with time will fail because the continuity of government is just for 4 years or 8 years.
Yeah.
I've been running male farms for 8 years, and we're still trying to break even, as it were.
Right.
We've had good days of profit, had good days, challenging days of hair. So will the state government be managing all those resources? It's not going to work. And civil servants are paid as per salary. So if they do well that year, will you give them bonus? No. So government has no business running primary agriculture. Is to provide the infrastructure and allow private ends. As I said before, if government is willing to clear the land and provide tractor, let those graduates be in a cluster, train them, and let them manage it. Provide seedlings for them, let them plant, and then selling. Another very important part of it.
Right.
Ensure that what the price is
Right.
is right for them. Yeah.
So I think we have a couple of other questions. And while we're waiting for those questions, if they're not ready, I want us to talk about retail and how you've managed, particularly the egg retail business.
Okay. The egg retail business is quite, our model is different from most farms. We don't sell eggs on the farm because of biosecurity and credit control. We don't allow people to come to the farm to come and buy, because when they buy food from one farm, they're carrying diseases everywhere. So we prevent that. So what we do is that we have buses, and we segment our customers, Bariga, Butebeta, and rest of them. So we have days of the week that we bring egg to you. As I'm talking now, they're in Egbeda.
Okay.
They're going to supply Egbeda, Akowonjo area. So we take eggs to that area, and we supply all our customers in that area. Yes. People say, why give credit? Credit, if you manage credit very well, credit will do well. So we don't give you your capacity. Capacity is 100 crates. We give you 50 crates. So you are wanting more. So when we give you the 50 crates, you would expect to go and sell. Because the value chain of this retail sales for egg is actually credit. So the farmers demanding cash at the point of selling is actually distorting the value chain. Because those people that you have sold 200 crates to, the people that they will sell to collect on credit. They'll go and sell. It is when they want to buy a new one, they'll bring it.
The money.
And these women, they are very, very faithful, because they train their children from it. They pay house rent from it. They maintain homes from it. So what we did was, okay, look, we have a lot of women, so we give them the credit. We give you, Yabose, you have this particular volume you do. So we give you, so you go and sell. By the 6th day, you must have paid for the one you collected before. And so we will now bring egg to you that next day. And that system has, in short, if I put any of them on court now, they'll be praying for me. Because what that means is empower them. They can't go to the normal financial system and borrow money. Nobody will borrow the money. They have no collateral. They are not in the financial system. They are undocumented. They don't understand finance. So what we've done is to look, we'll give you a little margin above the market price. They don't mind.
Right.
They would buy, they would sell, and then they would return the money.
Okay, we have an incoming call. I would like to take that now. Yes, sir, please go ahead.
Hello.
We
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi. Good program. Dr. Mahmoud.
I'm not hearing that.
We can't hear what you're saying, sir. Can you speak a bit louder?
Sorry, sir. Can you speak clearly now?
Yes, better.
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, so my question is, there's young people that have they're still working, and there's green gold in agriculture. I mean, what would you advise to be how they get to step into agriculture, knowing that maybe some of them still do their 8 to 5, but they want to venture into it as part-time? What would be your advice to them? That's one. The second question is, a young lady spoke to me recently. I have about 500,000 with me to put into agriculture. Where would you advise that such person starts from? I mean, what kind of, is it cropping or animal husband or something? What would you advise the person start with? Thank you so much.
I'm not sure I heard the first question.
Okay, I think I had a question. It was talking about...
But the second one,
okay, let me start with the one I heard very well. Okay. 400,000. Just keep 400,000 somewhere and use 300,000 to do retail. Just go and buy a product and sell or distribute.
right,
You are safer that way.
right.
500,000 will not scratch any surface in what we're talking about today.
Right.
Whether you want to buy beds or the rest of them. Because they are fraught with a lot of risk. So avoid risk if your capital is not more. So keep 200,000, start 300,000, and begin to grow your capital little by little. I think you talk about part-time farming. If you are into primary production, it's not part-time.
It's full-time.
It's full-time.
In fact,
It's full-time.
150%.
You put even much more than that. The first night we got birds in Mayor Farms, chicks, I slept in the same pen
With the birds.
with the birds because that was the first experience. We didn't understand how to rear the birds. Even though we had birds in the pen, we had birds that were bought at point of lay. But that was the first time we were rearing birds, and they told us a lot of things that they die easily. So I slept there for days, myself and my partner, trying to understand how it's done. Now today, I don't need to go to the farm when they take birds. I know what to expect. Every day I get reports, I know what to expect. But nevertheless, I still have to go at least, one of us has to go 3-4 times in a week. So farming is not a part-time business. It's not a side hustle. It's a full-time business.
Right.
And so I always advise people who are going to farming, have your reserves somewhere, such that God might not provide you your daily bread immediately. So let those reserves give you something. Or you have other things that you can sell right there on the farm. That's it. So that's what I advise people in farming.
That is very useful. We have another question. And I
Okay.
think this is probably our last
The first of this, the last you answered was saying that whether if he's working 8 to 5 and he's doing agric on part-time, what's your take on it? The second one, which goes like this. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for all you have been sharing on this program. If I'm not available always to supervise agric business, can I invest in it? From your experience, are there reliable managers or workers I can engage and they do well?
Okay.
So I think we answered the first question.
Yes, I think I answered
appropriately.
it. But I will
Agric
still...
is not part-time.
It's not part-time.
It's
Yeah.
full-time.
You can invest, but be very wary of these returns people are telling you, 30% per annum. I don't know where they're getting those returns. I don't know where. And so many people have come to meet me. They mean somebody told me 60% returns in 6 months. I don't know where they're getting those returns. Maybe they have to teach me how to do this business better. But by God's grace, I've dealt with the very, very big farms in terms of knowing their owners and knowing what they've gone through. As a banker too, I've seen the back picture. As a businessman, I've seen the real picture. Agric, you can invest in it. But be ready, if you are investing in primary agriculture, be ready for the long term.
Right.
Be ready for the long term because it takes long term. If, like for layers now, it takes you 6 years to recoup your investments completely. At least if I invest 10 million, I will get back my 10 million after 6 years.
Right. Wow.
That is how it is. That is my capital. Yes, I will get incomes every year,
Yeah.
but my quick capital will come back if I want to continue consistently
Right.
after 6 years. So if you are investing, be ready for the long haul. Yes, for us who are in the agri business, we can take short-term funding from people, but I don't think it's right for you to go there advertising for funding because it breaches SEC rules in terms of, are you a financial institution that wants to start raising funds? So if you have a friend, a family member that you know is into agric, and you want to put funds in their hands, you can sit down with that person, agree on the rates. I'm sure the person, if he's sincere, will not give you more than 20% returns on it. But you can invest, but you just need to know that people you are investing, you're talking to the owners, not just the managers. If you are investing people that have no stake,
Right.
like take for instance, I have a laborer, okay, he's working for me, I'm invested in him. He has no stake.
Right.
So that person must have his own stake in that business too. So it's worthwhile investing with that person. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think the sentiment of the last question is that can we find reliable people to help? And I won't say the word is help. I would imagine the word is employ, you know, to help us with our farms, understanding the sensitivity that farming clearly has. If you slept with your first set of chicks, I imagine that kind of commitment won't come from everybody. And so it's hard to get, in quote, good, committed people. And perhaps his sentiment is that, you know, in church, you may find like-minded people who are committed to that. But I think that's a business risk. That's a risk you will have in every business. And it doesn't matter whether you're working with Christians or not. I think you must see it as a key business risk. And take precautions to recruit, right?
Yes, you may add, when it comes to unskilled laborers, you must be able to see them have part of that business. I tell you what I did some few days ago. I wanted to stop wastage of feed in a particular pen. Mm-hmm. So I took the scale and I weighed 115 grams and I showed the young man, this is what a bird eats a day.
Right.
The moment you allow this small feed goes into wastage, you have lost money at the birds you eat that day. And that worked. Another thing we do to encourage them in terms of is to care about their own welfare. Many farms will not even give their staff food. Every day I ensure that all our staff are fed. Every day. It's not their salary, it's part as an incentive. So that the guy has food every day. At least once a day he has food. You know, it keeps him focused on the job. It keeps him coming to work every day. Then when you are making money, if you have made good money, do an incentive sharing scheme. Care about their families, about their health. Somebody is sick, his wife is put into bed. Help them. So some of the things that would ensure that they are loyal to you. And then you also watch them too, because that doesn't mean that they're...
Well, thank you very much, Yemi. I think we've learned quite a lot. I mean, one of my key takeaways is that this business, agribusiness, and I think many other businesses too, are knowledge-based. You must find out everything you can about this business before you start. And I think if we spend a lot more time finding out about the things that we would like to do, we definitely will be far more successful. So I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed today's session.
Myself too.
I've learned quite a lot about you that I didn't know before. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure coming around.
We hope we'll have you again, because I think there's some things that we didn't quite discuss.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to come around again.
Yes, I think we're going to definitely have you back in. So thank you for joining us. This is the Health and Wellness series. We're doing a very, very interesting run on entrepreneurship in July. And so if you've missed out, you can actually watch the repeats on YouTube and on our various social media handles. They'll be scrolling on your screen shortly. You can actually keep the conversations going and hit us up on Facebook and send in your comments or your contributions. We'll be happy to see if we can respond to them. Until we come back again next week, stay safe and may God bless you richly.